you wrote about this lately and also the chances of this again, which are what? Is this going to happen again? 3,000 or 500 homers for a player anytime soon?
I hope I'm alive to see it. Just watching that, I got goosebumps again. And why? Some of it is about the guy who did it. Some of it is about that number, the power of that number, 3,000. And when you start to wonder whether we'll see a 3,000th hit again ever, or how many decades it might take, I think it adds more meaning to the moment.
So let's look at some players that have the best chance to reach 3,000 hits. And some of this is a reach on our end when we're looking at guys that are well under 1,000, like Soto, Tatis, and Vladdy Jr. But what's the percentage here? This is according to projections?
Yeah, ask Dan Szymborski, who created the ZiPS projection system, to project which active players have the best chance. And he projected Jose Altuve as a leader. I think Freddie Freeman would be my pick. What does it tell you that 3 of the top 5 on the list are 2,700 to 2,500 hits away? It just tells you how hard it is to do. It requires 2 decades of consistent, relentless production. Is that going to happen? Who's going to do that?
None of the guys on the list, and that was the top in terms of projections, were even close to 50%. So your chances are not high at the moment for anybody reaching it that we have currently in our game.
That's just what we're saying. I looked at Albert Pujols because before Miggy, he was the last to get there. From Albert's first full season through 3,000, he averaged 185 hits a year for a lot of years. Who's doing that in this environment? It's never been harder to get a hit.
No, you're right. It's harder to get a hit. For all the current guys we looked at, they've all been around at least for a few years, Bob. So I'll say this. 2020 is real. There was only 60 games. So you need health. And despite being healthy in 2020 for most of those guys, they still missed out on 100-some-odd games, which also hurts their case as well. And you need every hit that you can get to get to 3,000.
It does. But when you implement the lift swing, when you implement the shifts, as we were discussing before, the 3,000 hit mark, I don't think will happen again ever. Guys play a long time, but they don't play that. Do you talk about how many games does he play during the season? Do you rest him? Do you do all these things? I almost think that may be one of those amazing milestones you never get to see again, and that's the evolution of the game. That's just life. It doesn't ruin the game. It just changes the game.
That's a bold claim, though, Bob. Ever? You don't think we'll ever see a guy come up and have the consistency? And also, I know you mentioned, uppercut swings, but Freddie Freeman doesn't have that kind of swing. So is there a player that comes around, puts it all together, stays healthy? Let's keep in mind next year, Jason knows all about this, writes all about it. We probably won't have shifts. So that should help the cause for some players as well.
Right, but it's not just that. It's velocity. It's breaking balls we've never seen before in our lives. There'll still be precise defensive positioning. Trust me. Try to do the math in your head. 200 hits for 15 years? Who's doing that? Nobody is doing that. That's why it seems so out of reach.
So do you agree with Bob? Because it's a bold claim. We're never going to see it again. You're never going to see it in your lifetime, another 3,000 hit guy?
Never is a strong word, especially in an age when we have so many great young players breaking into the sport at 20 years old. Those guys have a lot of runway to maybe do this, but the other thing that's happening in the game is longevity is hard. It's hard to attain. Unless you're a star player, teams are not hanging on to that 36-year-old guy, right, who's a platoon player.
Mm-hmm. And I just looked at that board. I'm going to stick with never.
Oh, well, for now, there's no one on there that has
we
a
put
high
the board
chance.
up. I'm going to defend our board. I don't think it's going to happen. But I also think there's other records you'll never see again either. That's my own personal opinion, just because the philosophy of the game has changed. People have changed. And to me, there are tremendous numbers that will just have to be adjusted. It's still an amazing accomplishment. Is it 3,000 hits? Probably not. But is it a whole bunch of hits? Yeah. Is the guy fun to watch? Yes. Does it become irrelevant, that number? maybe to the casual fan, to the hardcore fans, they want that, and I get that, and I respect that, I appreciate it. I just don't think it's going to happen.
And local versus national, like the national and an international fan base and the younger fan base, do they care about those numbers?
You know, I'm not
I don't know.
sure if they
I'm being
do.
serious. I feel like I hear it more from the older crowd and more from the local crowd.
Bob really went to the essence of what I wrote.
And I loved what you wrote.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
When you watched that game on Saturday, that place was packed. The emotion, you could feel it through your TV. Why was that? You know, what was the power of that magic number that evoked that? This is something that has always made baseball special. It's what separated baseball from the other sports is there's no other sport that has any round number that means that, what that meant. And 3,000 hits, if that goes away. 300 wins, if that goes away. 500 homers, I actually even think, is endangered. 20 wins, 200 hit seasons. It's all going away. You know me, Scott. I'm not that get off my lawn kind of guy. I'm good with change.
Yeah.
But change comes with a cost. What I think we should try to contemplate is, what's the meaning of that cost? If baseball loses this, what is it really losing?
Can we make epic milestones and replace them? You know, like can it be 2,500? I know it's not as sweet as a number, but I mean, if nobody gets to that point for such a long period of time, that becomes the new 3,000.
Yeah, I guess I'm a Hall of Fame voter. You can see that those of us voting for the Hall of Fame, we have tossed out the old magic numbers because they don't apply to what we're doing anymore. But the fact that you can connect the dots between Miguel Cabrera and Ty Cobb and Al Kaline, that has always meant something. If that goes away, you can't just impose a number that has that meaning.